Welcome to Valencia then for the final round of the CEV Repsol Moto3 Junior World Championship for 2015. We saw a dramatic race earlier on, which was effectively stopped initially because of a red flag and then restarted a 9-lap dash, and what a race it was. It resulted in Nicolo Bolega coming into this final race of the championship with a 13-point lead ahead of Albert Arenas, who remarkably has kept himself into this championship. I don't know how, but some rather unusual scenes in that first race to keep us going here. This is the circuit then, of course, familiar to all of you by now, I'm sure. Thanks for joining us from wherever you're watching around the world. 2 races to come here in Valencia and 2 title deciders. Moto3 Junior World Championship, and then after that we end with the Moto2 European Championship with Edgar Pons and Xavi Vierge battling it out to the end before we close play here in Valencia. Steve Day here alongside Gregory Haynes. Greg not quite back in the commentary box just yet. He's just been interviewing Superbike race winner. You can see here down on the grid, riders preparing themselves ready for race 2. There is the man on pole, Nicolo Bolega, number 46, on the VR46 Academy junior team KTM. 16-year-old, got his first win last time out in Jerez. 6 podiums so far this year, 4 pole positions, and despite not quite being able to get himself on the podium in race 1 because of the events that were going on around him in the race, including of course Lorenzo Dalla Porta bumping into Aaron Canet and knocking him off, it means that Bolega has managed to extend his championship lead coming into the final race of the season. So he really just needs to get himself finishing ahead of Albert Arenas, and it's all done and dusted. There's so many permutations, though, with 4 riders that could technically win this, that it would just be baffling and confusing if I was to try and run you through every single eventuality. Joan Mir here, well, you can see from that record on the right, 4 non-scoring rounds in terms of points, 3 non-finishers, 1 crash where he remounted and finished 23rd, but the points only go down to 15th. Points the same as any other World Championship motorcycle racing event. 25 for the win, 20 for second, 16 for third. Joan Mir here, I think it's fair to say, would need a minor miracle if he's to win this championship. Unlike Albert Arenas, who, in fairness, would have probably said the same before we went to Jerez. After Navarra, he finished 4th place, and he was a real long shot at winning this. Then Cadet was missing, and he put in such a brilliant performance with a P2 and then a brilliant a P1 and then a P2. And then this morning, despite going out in the initial start of the Moto3 race, it was red flagged, restarted. Albert Arenas came through to win, and well, he is basically the nearest challenger to Nicolo Bolega as we go into this next race. Here's Lorenzo Dalla Porta then, probably not best friends with Aaron Canet at the moment after what happened down into the final turn. Lorenzo Dalla Porta has been in the Moto3 World Championship this year as well, so it's been a busy season for the Italian on the JHK Leglise Husqvarna. But certainly looking forward to the race coming up. Gregory Haynes has made his way back into the commentary box. We're certainly looking forward to bringing you the Moto3 and the Moto2 races. This is Tony Arbolino, 15-year-old Italian on the SICK 58 Quadricourse KTM. Go into this garage and you will be surrounded by walls and pictures, of course, of the late great Marco Simoncelli. This team have been running in Italian Cup races and the Spanish Cup as well, but are looking to move into this series full-time and ultimately World Championship. Arbolino got the whole shot earlier, but sadly wasn't able to finish race 1. Now he gets another chance at him. What about this guy? Ayumu Sasaki, the Asia Talent Cup champion, 3rd in the Red Bull Rookies this year. He's just 15, and in his debut in race 1 earlier this morning, he finished 3rd overall. And to be honest, he didn't even look overjoyed with it. He just looked like that was just a normal day at the office. Bring on the next one. Here are the Aaron Canet fans then. Probably heads in their hands after what happened in race 1. Unfortunately, Aaron, who missed the last round due to injury, which really dented his championship chances. He still has an outside chance, but it really is an outside chance. Aaron Canet stays on 156 points. No points in the last 3 races because, of course, he missed Jerez as well, which means that he faces an uphill battle. Anything can happen in bike racing, but it's going to need to for Aaron Canet to end up as the Moto3 champion, Greg. But what a fantastic race we saw nonetheless earlier.
We did indeed, just as was the case last year. Then we had a red flag disrupting that first Moto3 race here in Valencia. And I hate to tell you that we had a red flag in the second one as well, if you remember. We had several multiple rider collisions earlier on in the championship. And I say earlier on in the championship, I'm talking about last year, of course. Jaume Masia then. Final race of the year for the young Catalan, just 15 years of age. But as you can see from that graphic at the bottom of the screen there, he has already had a podium. And that was in the second race at Aragon. It was a marvellous outing for him. As you can see down the right-hand side, it was a 4th and a 2nd for Jaume. Certainly the youngest rider on the full-time entry list for the Moto3 Junior World Championship this year. And the popular character as well, certainly down there in the Estrella Galicia garage, is Jaume Masia. If you're just joining us, welcome to Valencia. This is the climax of the Moto3 Junior World Championship of 2015. We have a real shootout on our hands. Nicolo Balega came into the day with 2 races in front of him still, with a 4-point advantage over Aaron Canet. The first race was very dramatic, to say the very least. Albert Arenas actually crashed on a cold tyre. Then we had a red flag for an incident further around the lap, coming out of the Champi Herreros corner. The race was stopped. They restarted from their original grid positions as the red flag came out only at the start of lap 4. And Arenas, who'd been out of the race, actually went on to win. It was a superb ride. Joan Mir was second. Ayumu Sasaki here. Excuse me, this is Senna Yamada. I was looking down at my notes there. But it was indeed Sasaki who started very well indeed and finished 3rd. This man, Senna Yamada, lines up 10th on the grid, one of the other Japanese riders in the field and one of the Estrella Galicia Hondas, and they really are set up to full World Championship spec. If you weren't with us earlier on, the riders with full Grand Prix bikes, if you'd like to call them that, are the Estrella Galicia riders. Joan Mir on his Honda, Sasaki, who's running on an ex-Leopard Racing Honda. In the meantime, this is the number 77. And just taking a moment there to reflect, perhaps, Lorenzo Petrarca, who starts 11th. And he's also 11th in the championship. There's the run down the right-hand side. You can see it's been gradual improvement with those 2 7th places last time out, matching his best from earlier on in the season. And certainly so much talent in this field. Petrarca, actually, he's 18 years of age. He's from Abruzzo, the Abruzzo region on the east coast of Italy. And he's certainly come up through the ranks in the Italian championship and then switched across to the CV. This used to be the Spanish championship. It's now very much known as a European setup. And, of course, the Junior World Championship in the case of Moto3. Raul Fernandez here then on the Husqvarna. He starts 12th, number 23. And we did talk about Fernandez earlier on today, didn't we? Because he's actually made his debut in the CV in 2015. A press release went out from the Leglise team last night here at the Ricardo Tourmal circuit to confirm that he will be doing a full season next year in 2016. He's from San Martin de la Vega in Madrid. Finished 7th overall in the Red Bull Rookies this year. Here's your grid then, and this is the shootout. Nicolo Balega looking to cement the Moto3 Junior World Championship title from pole position. Joan Mir and Arenas up alongside him on the front row. Dada Porta Arbolino, he's a quick starter from Sasaki. Then it's Canet. Real tragedy for him in race 1, relatively speaking. Jaume Masia, his teammate, right behind him. And Rory Skinner completing row 3. Senna Yamada, as we already know, is completing the top 10. Then it's Petrarca. Fernandez on row 4. Bezzecchi is 13th from Florido. And Valcellini, who is 15th. Kaito Toba starts 16th. That's the Asia Talent Cup champion of 2014. Vicente Perez there. And Kapawi, who has not had an easy weekend by any stretch of the imagination, down there in 20th place. The same can be said for the likes of Adam Norridin. And Pizzoli was in all sorts of drama as well in the first race earlier on. Valid Sopper there, look out for him. We didn't talk about him earlier on. The number 13, he lines up in the middle of row 9, and he's on the Dutch racing team bike that Bo Bensneider was on earlier on this year. So plenty of advice coming for Valid from the likes of Barry Veneman down there in that bright orange painted garage, and they're very easy to recognise, those riders with the bright orange coming up through the system. Of course, it's the Dutch rider system, if you like. It's known as the KNMV Talent Selection Programme, and it takes the riders up through some of the Dutch championships and very much gets them into the rest of Europe, and indeed the FIM CV Repsol in particular. Warm-up lap underway. Then let's hope we run to the full distance this time of 18 laps. Gregory Haynes and Steve Day with you here in the commentary box, and I do feel a little bit nervous, don't you?
Well, I don't, because I'm not out there on the bike, but no, I know what you mean. Tension rises, and it's brilliant, I think, for the championship that, you know, we're going into the final race of the season. 21 points between 4 riders. Remarkable, really. It could have been so different, but motorcycle racing does sometimes do this, and it is just fantastic. Balega looking to become the first Italian rider to have ever won a CEV championship. Albert Arenas looking to do the impossible, because that didn't look possible before Jerez in second. Aaron Canet and Joan Mir at the moment might just be looking back on this season at the end of this and thinking, where did it all go wrong? Because Joan Mir has had too many falls this year, and Aaron Canet, in fairness to him, Aaron Canet really couldn't do an awful lot about what happened in race 1, but missing Jerez really has lost him the grip of this championship. In truth, if you're to look at the statistics, you'd argue that Balega here would really have to fall into some unfortunate traffic of some sort to not be crowned champion by the end of this race. But it's Moto3, and just about anything can happen in bike racing, and especially in Moto3. So we're looking forward to seeing what happens. I've refrained from going into who needs to finish where. We'll just try and keep you updated as best we can throughout the race.
What we can say, of course, is that Joan Mir there, 21 points behind, does need to win the race to win the title. That is absolutely certain. So if Mir doesn't win the race, there's no way he's going to be winning the title. But even if that happens, he needs other things to happen. Then again, things do happen, don't they, in the Moto3 Junior World Championship? We've seen so much action and unpredictability already. You've got the likes of the number 77 there, Petrarca. He'll be looking to get in the mix as well. And of course, the number 4, Tony Arbolino, even more so, because he's starting 5th on the grid. So just to remind you, Balega here starts on pole, a 13-point advantage over Arenas, a 17-point advantage over Aaron Canet, a 21-point advantage over Joan Mir. We have a KTM, a Husqvarna, a Honda, and a second KTM, all vying for this title. Game on. This is going to be quite something. Here we go.
We wait for the lights here. The final race of the season is go here in Valencia. Good start there again from Albert Arenas, number 11 with the bright yellow wheels, and his teammate De La Porta flying through. Balega at the moment has it, but for how much longer? Into turn 1, it is Nicolo Balega, the championship leader, that gets the whole shot ahead of Albert Arenas and Lorenzo De La Porta, and Tony Arbolino is up into 4th again.
Yes, another great start then from Arbolino, cutting through the run. Joan Mir, they brake very hard now down into the Doohan corner for the first time. It's getting very, very tight indeed there in the middle of the pack, but all clean so far. Fantastic. Well done to everybody. That was a really clean start to the race this time.
Going into turn 2 in Valencia, the best place you could honestly be is first, and that's exactly where Nicolo Balega is. He got himself well out of trouble there, and he's trying to pull away already. He has a 13-point lead over the man that is currently in 2nd place. He had a long shot at this. Now he will just throw the kitchen sink into this final race of the season. Further back, another good start for Rory Skinner, number 69 there in the Racing Steps Foundation machine, is just up behind Tony Arbolino.
Oh, and look at Joan Mir, is right up there with one of those Leglise riders. We're watching Aaron Canet, who's just behind, but look at this, side by side going on there. Joan Mir is pushing very, very hard to get in front of what looks like Lorenzo De La Porta, who was very, very quick off the line, wasn't he, the Italian, from 4th on the grid, and he's made it stick. So it's Balega leading, then it's Arenas. Mir is 3rd, De La Porta down into 4th position, and Aaron Canet, who again has an outside chance of winning this title, is running 5th. So we might have a 40 36, winning a title in Valencia in 2015 after all, if it stays like this.
Well, 18 laps to go in a Moto3 race. Let's not hedge our bets just yet, but yeah, it's looking good for the Italian at the moment. On the start-finish straight we go. There you see it, that familiar 46 that we've seen so many times throughout the years. This time, it's Nicolo Balega. If you look at him with his helmet off, he looks like a young Valentino Rossi from 97, the Robin Hood special at Donington, but he's lost the lead now. Albert Arenas moves through, and the rest of the pack are closing on him as well. Joan Mir, number 36 there in fourth, and Canet, number 44, can do little else other than win this race and hope the rest of the field fall away, and Joan Mir in that goes into third place.
Remember, regardless of what anybody else does, a win or a second place would guarantee the title for Balega. Mir then now up the inside of Albert Arenas. That was clean, that was great stuff into the Tyrrell corner, and Joan Mir, who's crashed too many times this year but has been very, very quick, is now running up into that second position on the Leopard Racing KTM. Don't forget, they've switched from Honda to KTM this weekend. Looking ahead to the 2016 Moto3 World Championship. Number 44 there, the Blue Estrella Galicia cutting through, is Canet in the background. Now the two Leglice riders are side by side. Dada Porter's at the inside. Oh, they're almost touching. It's Dada Porter and his teammate Albert Arenas side by side. We're watching the leaders, and who's ahead? It is Dada Porter. He's in front of Albert Arenas, and here's Canet.
There's no gaps at the moment in the front of this field. Earlier on we saw 5 or 6 riders breaking away, but look at this lot here. Unbelievable scenes. Arbolino and Rory Skinner in the mix of that as well. There is Sasaki, number 71. That is 44 Aaron Canet on the Estrella Galicia machine, but out front it is Balega. Correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, my maths, and I'm not always the best at maths, I think Balega could finish as low as 4th and still be champion.
I will get back to you on that one because there's all sorts of drama going on here down at the Campos corner, but I certainly think a first or a second would guarantee the title no matter what anyone else would do. He's got a 13-point advantage over Arenas. We'll work that one out in a minute, but just to remind you, the championship situation is 25 for a win, 20, 16, 13, 11, down to 5th. Now, place your bets as to who would win this battle and lead the race coming out of turn 1. They're all over the place, aren't they? It was 4 or 5 abreast there, under braking for the left-hander at Aspar, and Balega then, who was leading the race a moment ago, Steve, has been engulfed. He's down into 4th position.
Yeah, incredible stuff, and that just shows you what can happen. 4th place would be 13 points for Balega, so if you give him that 4th now, that would be 13 points, another 13 points, that would be a 26-point lead, so 4th would be good enough. That's, of course, if Albert Arenas wins. There's so many different things that could happen, though. For now, we won't worry about it, because this is brilliant. There is Nicolo Balega. You'd argue that that's not a great position to be in at the moment. Joan Mir leads, number 36 on the Leopard Racing KTM. Then the two Husqvarnas. Number 11 with the yellow wheels is Albert Arenas. His teammate, Lorenzo Dalla Porta, number 48, just in behind him in 3rd. Then in 4th, 44, Aaron Canet.
Marvellous scrap going on here. What a race we have, and the top 4 in the championship are pretty much the top 4 in the race. Of course, you've got Dada Porter in there spoiling the symmetry as well, but certainly the top 4 are all in the top 5 group here as they make their way out of 11 up into the Herreros corner. They're climbing very slightly here now. They flick it right. Jean-Pierre Herreros, Manuel Herreros, to give him his full name, the last 80cc world champion in World Championship motorcycling back in 1989. Now down into Campos at the end of the lap. Mir with the advantage, almost being hit there by the first of those the Leglice riders, Albert Arenas. So it's Mir, Arenas, then you've got Dada Porter. Canet's up there as well now, so that's interesting. Canet has moved in front of Balega, who is down into 5th position for the time being.
Good race this from number 19 further back there from Rufino Florido. Number 19 going very well indeed in this second pack, but the top 4 men now trying to pull away. Lorenzo Dalla Porta having a good day here. Balega will not want to get detached from that leading quartet.
Oh, and Mir going through on the inside, very briefly taking the lead, but he ran out wide, and look what's happened. He's taken 1, lost 2, so disappointment there for Joan Mir. That was a rider error, though, unfortunately, for the Mallorcan on that number 36. Leopard Racing KTM, and don't forget, it is a new bike for him this weekend. He's been on a Honda all season until he got here to Valencia. Balega then just trying his best to keep up with this pack, and he's absolutely succeeding in that quest at the moment. But we now have a very interesting situation because we have a Leglice 1-2. Arenas leads, and his teammate Dalla Porta behind him is not a title contender. Interesting politics going on now that he can protect his teammate.
For the vast majority of the Moto3 World Championship, you've seen the Hondas going rather well, with the exception of maybe Miguel Oliveira, of course, doing well on the KTM, but it's a different story than what you're looking at the moment. 2 Husqvarnas out front, followed by a KTM, then the Honda, and then another KTM. Joan Mir there, and the Leopard Racing machine in third, number 36, affording a quick look over his shoulder, probably to see where Nicolo Balega is. At the moment, Balega's playing a smart game. He's just happy to sit in fifth and let this lot unfold. Then there's a bit of a gap back to Messia, Florido, Skinner. I think Skinner's got in front. He has. Rory Skinner's got himself to the front of that pack, number 69. He is up into sixth place. Brilliant stuff there from the young Scotsman. And look at this. That's how quickly it can change. From first, second, they moved down to third and fourth, both Dalla Porta and Arenas.
And Nicolo Balega running second. He was fifth when they started the lap, and that's what the Toe did. He's gone from fifth to fourth, fourth to third, third to second. Now make it the lead as Balega takes that position at the front of this race on lap 5 of 18. So we regroup again. It's now Balega from Mir, then it is Arenas, then you've got Canet, and it looks as though Dalla Porta's dropped down to fifth at the back of this quintet, who are slowly but surely pulling away from the rest of the field. I correct myself, it's Dalla Porta third, Arenas has now dropped down into fifth. So as you say, complete lottery there as the positions were shaken up down to turn 1.
The only problem I see, Greg, with Nicolo Balega leading this race is that Moto3 races normally pan out as such that you don't get a chance to break away. There's so much slipstream going on. Are you not a bit of a target there in first place as opposed to being in fifth, where he can just sort of oversee what's going on? Joan Mir and Aaron Canet have got nothing to lose here in this race. They need Balega to fall out, as it were, or be pressured into a mistake. So by being in first place, he really has put the targets on him a little bit.
Well, remember the man who was the master of playing the waiting game, Louis Salon, back in 2013, would frequently run around, wouldn't he, in third, fourth, maybe even a fifth position, depending on the race, cut through, put in an incredible lap on the final tour and win Moto3 races, and he did that so many times that year. Don't forget, we also had a last corner collision here earlier on involving Aaron Canet, took him off into the gravel, and we also had a three-way collision here when Antonelli wiped out Vasquez and Fanati last Sunday in the World Championship. Canet now at the inside, that's very tight. Mir being pushed out wide, so Joan Mir has been in fact pushed completely wide, out over the painted curb and onto the asphalt runoff area. That is not a disaster though. It'll take a corner or two to clean up those tyres from the marbles out there, and Aaron Canet benefits from the situation. He now moves up into second place on the Estrella Galicia Honda.
Good news for Balega. Joan Mir was looking a bit of a threat there on second place, but now enter Aaron Canet. Aaron Canet at the moment is fourth overall in the championship and 21 points adrift of Balega. So whatever happens here, he's got to get past Balega and hope for all sorts of things to go on behind him. But at the moment, Balega so far controlling things at the front, but for how long? Aaron Canet now looking to try and get in the slipstream, the number 44. He won't be able to make a move here. This left-hander goes downhill, is off camber, goes on for quite a while before rebuilding the momentum up. Can't really make a move through here. It's all one line, braking very hard then into the hairpin. Right-hander, carry on going. Now we come up towards turn 12. This is where it's so crucial to get on the power really, really early before leading yourself downhill into the braking zone at turn 14. Balega at the moment has it, but for how much longer? This is about the longest that we've seen anyone lead this race so far. We're one third, I'll get it right in a minute, of the way through the race.
Yeah, we're only coming up to start lap 7 of 18. We won't be at half race distance until the end of lap 9, so a very, very long way still to go here in Valencia. If you're just switching on, this is the finale of the Moto3 Junior World Championship for 2015. Last race of the year, race number 12, and we have 4 riders separated by 21 points and therefore all battling for the title. They are all on your screen right now. The only one in this group who's not battling for the title is the rider in the middle. That is Lorenzo Dalla Porta from Italy. You've got another Italian at the front. It's Nicolo Balega, Spaniard in second, Aaron Canet. Fourth in this group is Joan Mir from Mallorca, and at the back there you've got Albert Arenas from Barcelona.
Doing a good job so far, Balega out front. You can see the tall rider there, and how on earth he tucks himself into that Moto3 bike, I do not know, because when he was on his celebration lap in Jerez a few weeks ago, he just looked like a mammoth compared to that little bike. In the background there, you can see the battle continuing for 6th place onwards. At the moment, it is Florido that has it, number 19, ahead of Tony Arbolino.
A confident move there from Joan Mir. He's just gone through and up into third position. There was almost contact with Lorenzo Dalla Porta, who I would imagine will now release his teammate Albert Arenas, who at the moment, as a title contender, is at the back of the pack. On the other hand, Arenas is obviously playing this very sensibly. Somebody else running wide in the background. Who is that? Running wide on one of the other Leopard Racing bikes, I believe it was, in the back of your shot. It's the 6th place rider who ran out wide, coming out of the right-hander at turn 11. But look at this now, side by side, Dalla Porta fighting back. Dalla Porta on the left, Joan Mir on the right. That's very tight indeed. That really was almost contact as they came out of turn 14.
Not sure what happened to Ayumi Sasaki in this race. The rider that was in 3rd place in race 1 is down in 15th at the moment, so he must have had a moment somewhere on circuit. I know what you mean about Dalla Porta and Arenas, but Arenas probably is in a good position at the moment to watch this unfold. Dalla Porta, his teammate, can almost act as not just his teammate, but almost his little hand grenade there, that he can just launch into this pack and try and disrupt things. He, of course, needs Balega to finish at the back of this group if he's to have any chance at all of winning the CEV Junior World Championship. And let's not forget here, Arenas of this group here is the one rider that isn't going to feature in the World Championship next year.
Absolutely, that's
and he could actually win the championship.
Yeah, very interesting dynamic there to put in it, isn't it? Many of these riders going up into the Moto3 World Championship next year, as you say. It was actually Rufino Florido, the Spaniard, who ran out wide in 6th place. There he is in the background, similarly painted colour, of course, to the Leopard Racing bikes. He's on the Grupo Mercado machine, number 19, and running in a very, very strong 6th position. What an incredible freight train this is at the front of the race. 4 riders in contention for this title. Balega, though, he's done everything right, you have to say, so far this weekend. Stormed to pole position yesterday, half a second quicker than John McPhee's World Championship pole position time of, what is it now, 8 days ago. Incidentally, there's an amazing battle going on just behind them as well, isn't there? There's a few seconds back and then another multiple rider scrap, and you saw them there jostling for position and changing position from 6th downwards. But we have to focus our attentions on this duel at the front.
Well, we do, but leading that second battle is 14-year-old Rory Skinner. Last year's Aprilia Super Team champion, really is doing it for Britain at the moment, and this is promising for him when he goes into next year's championship. There he is, leading that second pack, number 69, rider from Scotland, who became well, almost became one of the youngest to win a Super Team crown last year. Really, really good rider. Been in the Red Bull Rookies, finished, of course, on the podium in Aragon at the final round of that. So promising signs there for Rory Skinner on the Racing Steps Foundation FTR KTM further back. But this is the battle for the championship and the battle for the race win here in Valencia, the final race of the season. Balega at the moment in charge and in control. As it stands, he would be champion ahead there of, well, on circuit, Aaron Canet. And then in 3rd place, you've got Lorenzo Dalla Porta, who doesn't feature in the top 5 or 6 of the championship, but certainly could feature in helping out Albert Arenas, his teammate, who at the moment, number 11 at the back of this pack.
It will be interesting to know, wouldn't it, whether Balega's spoken with Valentino Rossi, his mentor, on the telephone between the 2 races here this afternoon. I'd be surprised if he hadn't, to be honest with you, and we'll try and find out later on if indeed he does win the title. In fact, I might even ask him in the interview, did he speak to Valentino Rossi between the 2 races here this afternoon? But back in the race, this is lap 9 of 18. We're coming up to half race distance at the end of this particular 4-kilometre tour of Valencia. Balega still with the advantage. Canet then now running in 2nd position. Canet really with nothing to lose. He's 3rd in the championship. He's 17 points behind Balega. If he wins the race, it will be, of course, 25 points. And I was just talking, wasn't I, a moment ago, about Florido. And there he is. He's dropped out of that great battle that was going on for 6th position. That is a bit of a shame. And there it is, it's the left-hander at the Nieto corner, and I think the reaction there tells the story. No words of mine can sum up the frustration of Rufino Florido as he slips out of a potential 6th position here in Valencia.
Yeah, well, the only good thing about seeing a rider punching a gravel trap is that it means that he's normally probably okay, despite the fall, but not good there for Florido. This is the battle at the front of the race then as we start lap 10. Balega still in charge. Look in the background there, Joan Mir now going past Lorenzo Dalla Porta. I wonder how long it will be before Albert Arenas says enough is enough. I'm going to have your spot here, and I'll have to work this out myself. There's not been too many moves on Nicolo Balega out front, Greg.
I wonder what kind of odds you'd get at the moment. Full 5 finishing the race. I very much hope they do, because this has been an absolutely remarkable scrap so far. And here comes Joan Mir. He's up the inside of Aaron Canet now, thinking, well, come on then, Aaron, give me a turn. I'm going to try and have a go at Balega, who incidentally runs out quite wide there, does Nicolo, coming out of the left-hander at 6. Canet then drops in there behind Joan Mir, who put in, as I mentioned earlier on, one of the best recovery rides we have ever seen in motorcycle racing in general. When he charged through the pack at Le Mans earlier on in the season, he did then crash, it must be said, and he's crashed too many times this year, but he's still in the hunt here for the title. And I think Balega will be wary of the fact that it is now Joan Mir who's right up behind him, a notorious crasher, unfortunately, this year.
And we should just remind you again that this is Joan Mir's first go on a KTM. Been on a Honda all season long. The Leopard Racing team are switching to KTMs for the 2016 season, and they've lumped one underneath Joan Mir for the final round of the championship, and said, there you are, get your mitts around that one. And he's doing a very good job on it. It seems to be suiting the Spanish rider very well. This is a very good race indeed. Look in the background, leading that second pack now is another JHK Legliesman. It's Raul Fernandez, number 23, but we'll focus on this. Here comes a change for the lead. Up into first place goes Joan Mir, number 36 on the Leopard Racing KTM.
So Balega just needs to be very, very careful now. He knows, as you said earlier on, Steve, even a top 4 position would be enough, and he doesn't want to get himself in a position where if an incident takes place, he could be wiped out of the race, because he would not be the champion then. And as you can see, he's already swept back in front of Joan Mir to retake the lead of this one. Look at that fight going on in the background there. That's Dada Porter cutting through, having a real go at Aaron Canet. Canet now back up the inside of turn 5. They're climbing very gradually here up the hill. And again, Albert Arenas, the sensible one in many ways, watching on from 5th position. And he hasn't moved now, really, has he, from 5th position for quite some time.
Well, along with Joan Mir, probably one of the more experienced riders in that pack. And so he's been there, he's done it all before. He knows exactly what to do, of course, in Jerez. Just a couple of weeks ago, he sat there and watched Joan Mir and Nicolo Balega fight it out till the death, and then slipstreamed a pair of them to beat them across the line. He knows exactly what he's doing there. He knows that he's safe, and just as I say that, he goes underneath his teammate and moves up into 4th place. What do we know, eh?
And in fact, there's a Leglies rider running around in 6th position as well, because their new man this weekend, Raul Fernandez, is 6th. So great stuff for the rider who was in the Red Bull Rookies earlier on this season, and a full-time contract for Fernandez in the CEV Moto3 class here, which is what you're watching right now. And next year, this then is Arenas. Interesting then. So Arenas has decided to move ahead of Dalla Porta now, and Dalla Porta knows the situation. He knows Albert is still very much in the championship hunt. Surely the Italian won't do anything too silly. He's just going to sit behind him then for the time being down into turn 1. This is Balega on the KTM versus Mir on the KTM and Canet on the Honda, 1, 2 and 3, and then those 2 Leglies bikes, they're KTMs as well, right behind them. And further back, it is Fernandez, as you can see from that graphic on the left-hand side. He might be 2.5 seconds behind these 5, but he is in a very, very strong 6th position.
I don't think Albert Arenas had much choice but to go past Lorenzo Dalla Porta. That previous lap to this, the pair of them were 2 or 3 tenths down on the leading trio. And look what's happened since he's gone past him. He's managed to just catch up and bunch up to the leading 3 once more. Nicolo Balega at the moment, as you can see, championship standings wide, would have this. He needs to finish in the top 4 of this race to be crowned champion overall, and the rest of them are probably well aware of that.
Yeah, they'll also be well aware though that that's all very well, but it can so quickly change, can't it? It could all change, it might all explode at that very last corner. How many times has that happened here in Valencia in motorcycle racing? And of course, poor old Nicolo Balega knows that only too well. He's had a very, very strong season indeed, though, has the Italian. He started it with a podium at Portimao. He dropped out of the top 5 at Le Mans, but still picked up a very solid 10 points. There was another podium in Barcelona. Then he went 3 races with no podium at all. 3 consecutive second places, Albacete, Navarra and Jerez, and then a win again last time out at Jerez as well, which was his first in the Moto3 class here in the CEV, and that's why Balega is leading this championship moving into this final race. And Aaron Canet, the number 44 in the background there, you have to feel for him. He was, in some ways, if he doesn't win this one, ruled out by injury, whereas Joan Mir, he's crashed too many times. It's all his own doing. Mir takes the lead, Balega drops down into that 2nd place, and we are now getting towards those tense closing stages of the race.
So far, when Balega's been overtaken in this race, he's bounced straight back with an overtaking manoeuvre of his own, bit like Troy Bayliss used to do when he was overtaken in races, bite them straight back, and that is the way to win races overall. But it's been a few corners now since Mir has landed the move, and now Aaron Canet is next up. Meanwhile, further back, a great battle still going on for that 6th place. Raul Fernandez, 23, ahead of Rory Skinner, who's having a really great ride. In fact, Rory Skinner now leads that pack in 6th place. Senna Yamada's in there, Jaume Masia, Arbolini, Valtellini, Perez, Ryu, Petrarca and Sasaki all inside the points there as we see Balega squeezing underneath Mir again to take the lead.
That's where he does need to be really, really careful. I noticed Balega had a very large look over his shoulder as they came up the hill towards the Nieto corner, a few corners further back. He's left the door open there for Mir, and look at that, Albert Arenas. There was almost contact there between Balega and Arenas, who's moved in front quite clearly of Aaron Canet. Dalla Porta is at the back of this pack. So now the top 4 in the championship, but in a different order, are the top 4 in the race. What is Balega going to do? He knows very well I'm in a group here of 5 riders, including myself. Any mistake's going to drop me down into 5th position, and that would not guarantee the title for Balega, depending on where everybody else is.
Balega then in 2nd place. The championship leader pulls out of the slipstream of Joan Mir. In the background, Albert Arenas, number 11, is trying to hang on to them, but he has got Aaron Canet putting in his slipstream as well. So there's a change for 1st and a change for 3rd. Balega retakes the lead. Canet moves into 3rd ahead of Albert Arenas.
Yes, and they'll all be sizing each other up, of course, thinking, where am I stronger, where am I weaker? Do I want to be ahead into the last corner? Do I want to be behind and slipstream my way to the line? They're all deciding what to do. Of course, you can plan as much as you like, though. That might not always fathom out that way when you get to that all-important last lap, and quite clearly it's going to go down to the last lap. It's going to go down to the very last corner and maybe even beyond, because we've seen many times a slipstreaming run to the line. Balega's got to be so careful. If there were 4 riders in the group, it would be a completely different ball game, wouldn't it? The fact there's 5 of them, he knows I can't drop to the back of this pack.
Yeah, one mistake and he's in 5th, and all of a sudden, if certain results don't go his way in amongst the 4 ahead of him, he could lose the championship. So you're right, it is quite significant that there's 5 of them here at the moment, and he will be informed of that. If there was 4, of course, he could just drop to the back of the pack and watch them all fight it out. But at the moment, he's decided that he wants to lead this pack, and look at Albert Arenas there. Big and brave. Don't often see overtaking manoeuvres pulled off there. But Albert Arenas there, he's saying, stick with me, Joan. Joan saying, no, I'm not sure if I want to at the moment. But Albert Arenas obviously believes that he is the man that can win the championship and bring in Nicolo Balega, who I have to say has done a very good job so far at leading and hasn't looked out of shape all race long.
Dalla Porta really trying hard to help his teammate as he moves up into 4th position. They're coming up to lap Gabriel Martinez there, the Mexican rider on the Mahindra. We talked about Tex-Mex, didn't we, in the press room yesterday, because as you pointed out, he was born in Mexico and lives in Texas. So a lovely mix there of Mex and Tex when it comes to Gabriel Martinez. We move then into lap 15 of 18, just 4 circulations to go. And now then, Arenas is 2nd, but not for long. Mir's at the inside. Oh my goodness, that was tight. He nearly hit Nicolo Balega.
Yeah, Joan Mir, well, he's fallen a few times this year, and with some of the moves he's pulled off in this race so far, it's quite easy to see why. As Dalla Porta now shoves his nose up underneath his teammate as well, which is quite a surprise at this particular stage with Arenas in 3rd. I'm surprised to see that. Now then, Gabriel Martinez up ahead. Tex-Mex, he's going to have to get out of the way of this. If he looks over his shoulder, he's got 5 charging Moto3 machines heading towards him, and they've got a championship to win, and he moves out of the way. He doesn't want anything to do with this. He doesn't want to decide the championship. Let's see what happens. We are coming to the business end now of this Moto3 Junior World Championship. Who will be the champion? Odds-on favourite is 46 Nicolo Balega at the moment.
That was smart stuff by Tex-Mex. The last thing he wanted to do was be involved in the outcome of this Junior World Championship, did he, for 2015? Well out wide there into the boonies onto the asphalt, and now he's looking back for another massive train behind him. It's that battle going on for 6th position. When we next come through, there will be only 3 laps to go. Aaron Canet highlighted there on the graphic. Here he is, number 44 on that Honda, the Estrella Galicia Honda. You pointed out earlier on, Steve, Estrella Galicia riders, they've won the last 3 titles here in the CEV Moto3 class. Alex Marquez, and then of course twice for Fabio Quartararo. We are into lap 16 of 18.
Unless Lorenzo Dalla Porta, number 48, has been put in here to try and really upset the rhythm of these guys and potentially run a few wide, I question his presence in this leading pack at the moment, because he's taking points off Albert Arenas, who is the man that is closest to Nicolo Balega overall. Dalla Porta has now been pushed back to 4th place ahead of Arenas, so unless he's going to make some sort of audacious move, he might just have to move aside and let his teammate through in a moment.
Yeah, indeed. If it's going to get too late in the race, he'll have to. But of course, as we said earlier, what it is doing is keeping the pressure on Nicolo Balega, because it means Balega can't just roll off and drop back into fourth position. So I think that's probably the conversation that's gone on down in the Leclerc team ahead of this race. And again, Arenas is just settling for that fifth position at the moment. It's Mir still right up behind Nicolo Balega. Don't forget, Arenas, incidentally, who's currently at the back of the pack, is the closest challenger to Balega, 13 points behind, coming into this 12th and final race of the season. If it stays like that, and I believe that's the latest update, because they have changed positions again during the lap, of course it would be Balega with a rather comfortable, it has to be said, 26 points over Joan Mir in the end, who would be the runner-up, and looked very, very strong for this championship early doors. If it wasn't for all of those crashes, but you've got to be in it to win it, as we said earlier on. To finish first, you first have to finish, and Mir has failed to finish 4 times this year through unforced errors, the latest of which was a high side in Jerez 2 weeks ago. We will now be on the penultimate lap when they next cross the line. Balega, he's where he wants to be, he's got the advantage, but he's in that horrible position of being able to be wiped out if somebody makes a mistake behind him.
Yeah, there are 4 riders at the moment that have a target, and in their sights is Nicolo Balega, number 46, and here comes Joan Mir. Can he get the slipstream to move ahead? No, not into turn 1, so Balega's got that one sorted. In the background there, you can just see number 48, again, the nuisance that is Lorenzo Della Porta, moving up into 3rd place, and now Albert Arenas moves up into 4th ahead of Aaron Canet, and that's not good for Canet on the Estrella Galizia machine. At the moment, Balega safe.
So that's interesting. Della Porta's almost allowed Canet to lose momentum. That's allowed Arenas to come through. Can they now do the same thing with Mir, and perhaps even with Nicolo Balega? It's looking as though they've got a tactic going on here. Della Porta's going to try and buddy his way in front of Joan Mir, and surely will then allow Arenas through as well. Let's see if it works. This is Aaron Canet, and this is looking like a very distant possibility indeed now for the erstwhile Moto3 Junior World Championship leader of 2015. This is Arenas in 4th position. He's hoping his teammate can muscle Mir out of the way, and I will follow through. Yeah, well, if they pull this off, it would be a genius masterstroke from the JH Clay Leclerc Husqvarna team, but it's a tall ask, I've got to say, and Albert Arenas says, no, I think I'm going to have a go first, if you don't mind. He moves up into 3rd. Now, of course, he's aware that it's now coming up to the final lap. He's going to have to get dirty here if he wants to catch up with these guys. We've seen it so often in Moto3 races, come down to the final lap, come down to the final corner, and it looks like he's going the same way here. Here we go then, a bit of a dress rehearsal. They're side by side here, down into turn 14. Oh, that was very tight indeed. We come through to start the final lap of the season then for Junior Moto3 in 2015, and that man there, the number 46, Nicolo Balega, is just 2.49 miles, 4 kilometers away from the title in 2015. The team knows it. What are they going to do behind him? Up the inside is Della Porta and his teammate Albert Arenas. This is a bit like Ono and Kent last weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, well, this is a little bit more oh no, because this is just not what Albert Arenas wants at all, and he will try and keep Della Porta there. They're going to have to try and find a way past Balega. I think Albert Arenas was almost shocked there to not see Joan Mir make a move on Balega. Here we go then. We are coming towards the end of this season. Who will be the champion? Balega has ridden superbly so far in this race. To still be out front is remarkable. They're not close enough at the moment to make a move.
No, they're not. This is going to come down to that infamous last corner in Valencia. It's going to be like the World Championship in Moto3 of 2013 all over again, and Mir is now up the inside. Balega, you need to be very, very careful, Nicolo. Okay, that's covered now. Surely Mir's not going to have a go until they get down to the last corner, unless he can have a very good run here. Thread the eye of the needle down into the hairpin at turn 11. Is he going to stab it up the inside? Yes, he is.
He is, and he has a look over his shoulder, and Arenas has gone through as well and set up Balega. This is good stuff. Oh, my word. Balega then almost getting pumped back into 4th place now as Della Porta tries a nibble. Here we go. We're getting to the closing stages.
This could get very complicated indeed for Championship Mouse if something dramatic happens here. What's Nicolo Balega going to do? He's in 3rd. He will be the champion if it stays like this. This is the last corner of the season.
Della Porta up the inside.
Oh!
And he wipes out Mir. And that has handed the championship over to Balega. They can't believe it. Arenas wins. He doesn't even know what's happened yet. He'll look over his shoulder and he'll realise exactly what has happened. Balega finishes 3rd. The championship goes to him. Drama again with Della Porta in the final turn. The little hand grenade has done it again.
You just can't script motorcycle racing, can you? Isn't it ironic that number 46 has come out on top and won the Moto3 Junior World Championship only 7 days after everything that happened here last weekend?
Rory Skinner, by the way, has finished in 4th. What a result for the Brit. A fantastic effort for him here in Jerez. That's almost gone unnoticed because, of course, we were fighting for the championship out front. Arbolino 5th, Yamada in 6th. But yeah, you're right. Bike racing, you just can't beat it, Greg. Albert Arenas, I mean, in fairness to him, he has come from nowhere these last 4 races to be in with a chance of winning this. It's not quite happened, but hey, fair play.
Well, I mean, he's done the double here in Valencia. He's won 3 of the last 4 races of the season. I incidentally saw in the background that after Dalla Porta had gone down, he tried to jump back on the bike, put his hand on the gas and spun the thing right round in the middle of the runoff area of turn 14. There is Aaron Canet. It's been a marvellous, marvellous year for Aaron. He won his first race as a 15-year-old at the time at Le Mans in front of all of the MotoGP team bosses in that support race to the French Grand Prix. Second here. Balega, though, is the first Italian champion in the FIM CV Repsol as he finishes 3rd. Wow, I mean, who would have even looked at Balega earlier? I mean, just a few weeks ago, you wouldn't really have said Balega could be in this one. He was never too far away, but it was looking as though it was going to be a bit of a Mir battle, of course. Arenas was it? Well, Arenas wasn't it? It was Mir and Canet, wasn't it, earlier on? There's your confirmation, though, Nicolo Balega.
Mir and Canet going into Jerez a couple of weeks ago were the 2 riders that everyone had down as winning the championship. It wasn't going to be anybody else. Canet then, of course, got himself injured on the Friday in free practice. That ruled him out, effectively, of the championship. Mir then threw it down the road on Sunday in the race. All of a sudden, Balega leads the championship coming into here. Just when you think Balega's got it, Albert Arenas comes through to win 2 races, and he ends up finishing 4 points behind in the championship. Now, I can't remember exactly how the points looked going into Jerez, but I could tell you that Arenas was a mile behind at that point. It just didn't look possible. Nonetheless, this is the young man. It's been a while since we've seen an Italian champion in any form of the sport, it has to be said. Nicolo Balega, the protege of Valentino Rossi, has done it with the number 46, and in his final race with the number 46 on as well, because he's not allowed to use it next year. Brilliant racing once more, drama at the final corner. Arenas wins it from Canet and Balega, and well done to Rory Skinner. 4th place. He is going to be something else, I think, next year. Rory could well find himself in these positions that we're seeing at the moment next season.
I mean, that is absolutely stunning, isn't it, from Rory Skinner? The level is so high here in the CV. As we were saying earlier on in the broadcast, many riders come here, they think they're the bee's knees, they think they're going to absolutely destroy everybody, and all of a sudden you find yourself 25th, 30th on the grid, and you think, wow, the level really is high here. For Skinner then to finish 4th, absolutely incredible. And Valentino Rossi will be sitting at home in Tavoliere watching this one. Number 46 has just become the Moto3 Junior World Champion of 2015. Some amazing performances further down the pack as well. Now, what have we got going on down
someone dressed
there?
as a gorilla.
Do you remember the Cadbury's adverts?
Yes,
with
yeah,
Phil Collins in the air tonight with the drum kit? A bit like that. We'll have to ask about the gorilla, won't we?
Brilliant scenes then here for the VR46 team, and Valentino Rossi has got himself a championship with his team. I tell you what, even post Valentino Rossi in his career personally, you're going to hear that name for a very, very long time, because he ain't going nowhere. He's got teams, he's got riders, he's got proteges, and he's got one here in Nicolo Balega. Brilliant stuff then. This is what happened down in the final turn.
Oh dear,
just a mess, absolute mess there from... It's difficult to say whose fault that was, but Joan Mir was quite wide in, Dalla Porta was tight going in.
Well, is that not the second time today? And watch this, by the way. Watch Mir spinning it round. Maybe, no, it was Dalla Porta, wasn't it, who spun it round? Was it not Dalla Porta who triggered the incident at the last corner in the first race as well? It was, wasn't it? So he's not going to be a very popular boy. Incidentally, they both actually scored Junior World Championship points. 4 for Dalla Porta, who finished 12th in the end, and 1 for Mir, who ends a very promising but disappointing in the end season in 15th position. Goodbye to that particular Dunlop rear tyre. I thought he was going to run straight through into the team for a moment there, but Nicolo Balega is the Moto3 Junior World Champion. I'm sorry, Steve, I will go and grab him now, and I will see whether he did speak to Valentino Rossi between the 2 races.
Yeah, just in case you're wondering, yes, there is another flamboyant Italian on the way. Nicolo Balega is a chip off the old block, if ever I've seen one, as Greg heads down then to talk to the new champion of 2015. And that's with a 4th and a 3rd place here today. He's done it the hard way. Here is the confirmation of the results then. Albert Arenas wins. That's the double for him today. Brilliant stuff from him. Head of Aaron Canet and Nicolo Balega. Rory Skinner, congratulations to him. The KTM FTR squad, the Racing Steps Foundation, particularly to Peter Ball, to Mark Keane and co for that result, because that is something else. And Rory himself, what a rider. Arbolino 5th, Yamada 6th, Messia in 7th, Raul Fernandez in 8th ahead of Vicente Perez. Further down, Valtellini, Ayumu Sasaki, a bit of a question mark over that one, must have made a mistake earlier in the race, didn't quite catch that. He finishes in 11th after that podium in race 1. Dalla Porta remounts to finish in 12th ahead of Ryu Petrarca. Joan Mir, same as Dalla Porta, managed to jump on board to get a championship point ahead of Kaito Toba. Here we see a replay of the race then. Brilliant start from Albert Arenas, number 11, and his teammate Lorenzo Dalla Porta, who was a real handful throughout this entire race. Down into turn 1 though, it was Nicolo Balega that got the early advantage, and they were joined by number 4 Tony Arbolino, and a good start also for Rory Skinner and the Racing Steps Foundation. But Joan Mir then started to make improvements. He was pushing his way through the field along with Dalla Porta. And then, as we see here, 3 abreast going down into turn 1. Joan Mir got the advantage, with Arenas then trying to push his way through. And at this point, Balega was pushed down into 4th place. And he sat there for a little while before pushing his way back through again and taking the lead. Aaron Canet, meanwhile, in the background there, number 44, moving into 4th place. Balega then led for large chunks of this race. He became the target man, if you like. He was the one that needed to finish in the top 4 to be crowned champion overall. But then there was all sorts of drama that went on into the final lap. In the background there, Raul Fernandez was leading the second group of riders, ahead of Rory Skinner, Tony Arbolino, and also we had Florido in there. But then Balega retook the lead, up ahead of Joan Mir. Aaron Canet there again in 3rd with Arenas and Dalla Porta. This is a VR46 squad, telling Balega to do as much as he can, which I'm sure he was anyway. And then going down into the final corner, Dalla Porta and Joan Mir make contact. The pair of them go down, and that meant Albert Arenas would win the race. Canet would finish 2nd, but Balega had done enough to become champion. 3rd place for the number 46 means he is the CEV Repsol Junior World Champion for 2015, the first Italian ever to do so. Aaron Canet is being piggybacked onto the podium. Of course, he was on crutches earlier this morning. Cheers for Albert Arenas as well, because that was a supersonic double win from him at a great moment. And just unfortunate, I suppose, that his teammate couldn't quite do enough for him. And then Balega, there he is. Going into the Moto3 World Championship next year, although he could do with stop growing, that's for sure. He could do without the Miracle Grow. Put a halt on the Weetabix, that's what I say. He won't need to grow anymore, because that would be a real hindrance to him in Moto3 World Championship next year. But anyway, a 3rd place trophy there is good enough for the championship. And the VR46 squad finally have their hands on a winning trophy. 2nd place for Aaron Canet under the circumstances. That was a good effort there. He got knocked off in race 1, and that really put an end to his championship chances, although you could argue that missing out in Jerez really was the one that did the damage. But Albert Arenas, take a bow. The last 4 races, absolutely brilliant. A 2nd and 3 wins in the last 4 races, and he closes the gap down to finish 2nd overall, the runner-up for 2015, and takes some free fuel as well, so at least he's got a ticket home. Great scenes, and now they get to spray the bubbly. Apart from Aaron Canet, who's just throwing a load of water, and Balega likewise. The only bubbly going to Albert Arenas, the 18-year-old there. 16-year-old Balega, the champion in the CEV Repsol Junior Championship. And Greg will, I think, be talking to not just Albert Arenas, the race winner, but also to Nicolo Balega in a moment. I believe that after these guys have had their photos, they'll be ushered off stage, and the top 3 presentation will be going on in the championship, that is, as a whole. So Albert Arenas won't have to go too far. I'm not sure. I think, well, Aaron Canet, I think, will get third anyway, so they just have to shift around positions slightly. Oh, Aaron Canet trips over there. Of course, he's having to hop around because of that injury. Aaron Canet's told, just you stay there. No point in you hopping any further. So now, coming through onto second place on the podium for the championship in 2015 will be Albert Arenas, and then the winner overall, Nicolo Balega. No place for Joan Mir, sadly. The rider who would have been looked at as one of the favourites going into Jerez doesn't even manage to finish in the top 3 overall. That's how close it is. Third place in the championship then to Aaron Canet. Aaron will look back on this and maybe wonder what could have been, but the 16-year-old can now look forward to life in the World Championship. He will move on to the Estrella Galicia World Championship bike. Albert Arenas here, well, he's not got a ride in the World Championship for next year, but I'm sure there'll be a few people that will be looking at him at the moment, because that is a good performance. And Nicolo Balega, he moves into the World Championship as the CEV Repsol Junior World Champion. There's confirmation of the standings. Mir in the end, 36 points adrift. I can't tell you how upside down that championship is compared to what it looked like with 4 races to go. Balega hadn't even won a race until the last round. Confirmation then of those championship standings. Balega's done it. The Italian wins the championship with just 1 win in the whole season. 4 points ahead of Albert Arenas. Aaron Canet finishes in 3rd, Joan Mir 4th. Jaume Masia takes 5th place in the championship with Cairo Lidampawi in 6th. Bo Benschneider not here this weekend, wraps up 7th ahead of Valtellini. And Lorenzo Dalla Porta is in 9th place. Tenth goes to Senna Yamada. Lorenzo Petrarca takes 11th. Then it's Arbolino, Pizzoli, Raul Fernandez in 14th. Rory Skinner, he's only been here 3 rounds. He manages to get himself 27 points and 17th place. Let's get down to Greg Haynes.
You've done the double here in Valencia today. You've won 3 of the last 4 races this year. You could not have done anything else, could you?
Yeah, I give my best. You know, in every race of the championship, we give our best. At the beginning, maybe we don't have the lag that we need, but we were really constant. At the end, the lag seems that was in our favor, you know, but here in Valencia, I arrived with possibilities of get the championship that in Jerez I didn't have them, and I race both races without thinking championship, you know. But in the second race, the championship was really close, really near. There was a possibility because we were 5 fighting in the group. At the end, I give my best, you know. Win the 2 races, it was the best thing I can do here. I get the objective, you know, and I'm really happy. I give thanks to everybody that helps me to achieve this second position in the World Championship Junior, and you know, thank you everybody.
Thank you again, Alberto. In just a few words in Spanish, of course, Albert, has ganado 3 de las 4 últimas carreras, las 2 de que no puedes hacer más de esto.
Bueno, me voy con un buen sabor de boca de campeonato, ¿no? Hemos ganado todas las carreras, sobre todo en esta última contra las KTMs oficiales. Estaban aquí pues, los ingenieros de KTM evolucionando las motos 2016. Nosotros con nuestra moto y nuestro equipo hemos conseguido pues, hacer de la moto que sea muy competitiva. Hemos podido ganar las 2 carreras. Y nada, hemos dado el máximo y con eso me quedo. Ganar las 2 carreras delante de todo el público pues es todo un placer y nada. Agradecer a todo el equipo y los patrocinadores que han hecho esto posible y con un buen sabor de boca me voy a campeonatos.
Enhorabuena de nuevo, gracias. Thank you.
Brilliant stuff there then from Albert Arenas, and like Greg said, he couldn't have done any more than that. 2 race wins, and he ends the season within 4 points of the champion, Nicolo Belega.
Nicolo Belega, congratulations, the 2015 FIM CV Repsol Moto3 Junior World Champion. First of all, just tell me, did you speak to Valentino before the last race? And then, of course, tell us about the race.
Yeah, I'm very, very happy for this championship, and it was a fantastic season for me and for all my team. They work very, very hard, and this championship is for all my friends, but for Valentino.
Well done again, Nicolo. And just a few words in Italian as well, please.
Sono molto contento perché essere campione del mondo è molto bello. Dedico questa vittoria a Vale, a tutta la VR46, ai miei genitori, a tutti i miei amici che mi stanno vicino a casa. Sono molto contento e spero di fare bene il prossimo anno nel mondiale.
Grazie mille. Thank you.